Every security tool tells you what it found. VIGIL is built around one harder promise. It cannot lie to you about a finding. A language model may propose a vulnerability, but that proposal stays a mere lead until a deterministic oracle refires over the actual bytes the target returned. Only then is it a fact. Everything you are about to see rests on that single rule. The rule decomposes into 4 roles. The LLM proposes. It reasons and suggests. The oracle confirms. Deterministic code reruns the check over retained bytes. The signature attests. An ED25519 key seals the confirmed fact into a hash-chained spine. And the gates constrain. Every action that touches a target must pass authority plus warden, and destructive ones a third quorum conjunct. No single component is trusted to grade itself. VIGIL is one monorepo, but 2 isolated process and trust domains. On the left, env sovereign holds the owner's signing key and is offense-free by construction. It imports no attack code. On the right, env offense runs the Crucible engine, Strix, and the egress gateway, and it holds no owner key. Findings cross the boundary only as inert signed JSON. Neither side can do the other's job. The cardinal sin is called Fatal 2. One interpreter co-loading both trust domains. If the same process held the owner key and the attack engine, the offense-free boundary would be a fiction. So the shared substrate, VIGIL core, imports neither the framework nor Strix. That keeps its assert no offense check sound. And the 2 planes always run as separate operating system processes in their own virtual environments. The boundary is enforced by the OS, not by good intentions. How does a finding cross safely? VIGIL core gives both sides the same ED25519 sign and verify core with canonical JSON and domain-separated evidence bytes. The offense side signs a finding with an M of N governance key. The sovereign ingest verifies that signature, then appends it to the owner-signed spine. It even rejects malformed or low-order public keys, closing a keyless forgery. Data crosses, never code, never a key. You start the whole system with one command, VIGIL up. Behind it is UE proxy, pure standard library, exec-only code that imports neither the framework nor sigil. It spawns each backend as its own OS process in its own venv, waits for the sovereign cockpit to hand back its session token, wires the 3 planes together, and opens your browser. Default port 8770, bound to loopback. That single banner is the entire platform coming online. Reverse proxy is the single human-facing door. Everything you click reaches one origin, and the proxy routes it. Paths under sovereign go to the cockpit. Offense/API/v1 goes to the gated action plane, and everything else offense goes to the read and stream console. It forwards headers minus hop by hop, caps request bodies at 16 megabytes, streams server-sent events safely, serves the bundle under a strict same origin content security policy, and redacts tokens from its logs. Behind the door sit 3 backends, every one bound to loopback only. Port 8733 is the sovereign cockpit. The owner key plane. Port 8787 is the offense console. Read-only APIs and live event streams. Port 8799 is the offense API, the gated action plane, where launches and fixes are authorized. The offense children receive the LLM key resolved from the sovereign venv, but the destruction signing key is the one hard exclusion. A keyless offense process never receives it. You cannot accidentally expose this. Before anything spawns, bind OK refuses a public bind and exits. Only loopback, private RFC 1918. Tailscales carrier grade range, or IPv6 unique local and link local addresses are permitted. Never 0.0. IPv6 uses a positive allow list because Python mislabels Teredo and 6-4 as private. And a domain-fronted deployment with no API key set is refused too. So the gated offense API is never internet exposed unauthenticated. Around the core, VIGIL can start optional sidecars, and they are honestly off by default. With feed runs a recurring live vulnerability inter daemon, but only if you name a slug, and everything it mints is a lead, never a fact. With telemetry runs the read-only spine projector. With voice and with gesture arm the sigil companion signals, which inject nothing into the OS. The learn drain sidecar starts only when the owner's public key resolves, never without its verify pin. The telemetry collector deserves its own note. It is a one-way, read-only projection of the signed spine into a fax, leads, refusals, and tool call snapshot, rewritten atomically each tick. It lazy imports the blackboard, so nothing loads at CLI start, and it fails soft. No spine yields an honest empty snapshot rather than an error. It observes. It mints nothing. A metrics outage can never touch the truth of a run. Bringing it up records every child PID plus the orchestrator to a PIDS file. VIGIL down reads that file, sorts children first and orchestrator last, and terminates each with a sig term, a 5-second grace, then a sig kill if needed. A missing or empty PIDS file is a clean no-op. And if you just hit Ctrl-C, the same cleanup runs in the orchestrator's finally block. No orphaned backends left listening. And here is where it lands. Home, in your browser, at that one loopback origin. The left rail federates both planes into a single interface. Offense screens like Live, Findings, and Fixes. Sovereign owner-only screens like Charter and Settings. And the Knowledge Engine and Manual. Home's activity feed reads straight from the Sovereign Spine snapshot. If that feed says the Sovereign plane is offline, it tells you plainly to start it with VIGIL up. From here, the tour begins. Everything starts here. VIGIL exposes two command lines. The VIGIL Super CLI runs native verbs in process on the offense side and forwards subsystem verbs to each subsystem's own console script, exec in its own venv, so the two trust domains never co-load. Routing is a hard-coded verb-to-environment table. An offense verb can never resolve into the sovereign venv. Routing is by construction, not inspection. That is the fatal two boundary. This is the unified engagement loop against an owner-authorized target. The scope you pass, literal hosts or wildcards, never CIDR, is signed into the Crucible authority and enforced end-to-end. The API key is never read from argv. The engine resolves it from the environment. Every action routes through the real gate and approval. Every claimed exploit through the real oracle. Keyless, with no replay file. It still attests first, then completes proposing nothing. It never fabricates activity. Mid-run, engage instruct enqueues a plain language instruction the running engagement folds into its next think as advisory context. It fires nothing. Every action still passes the gate and approval. Every exploit still needs the oracle, so it can neither run a tool nor relax scope. On engage itself, session is just a knowledge graph partition key granting no authority, and connect unions other sessions graphs as origin-tagged non-authoritative priors. VIGIL keeps an always-on usage attestation ledger. Ledger who replays who did what, OS login, get name, host name, key fingerprint, action, and target. Ledger when shows sequence and whether each record is TPM anchored or a software chain. Both verify signatures and the hash chain under the operator key before printing anything. Fail closed. A broken chain prints verification failed and returns 3. Verify ledger is the standalone integrity check over the same file. VIGIL Verify is the boundary-safe view over the offense spine. It reads only public keys and inert bytes and establishes the owner tie by consuming an owner-signed delegation certificate for the offense spine row. This verb is that row's first live consumer. Each segment prints OK, fail, absent, or unverifiable. It exits 3 only if a present segment fails integrity. Absent or unverifiable segments are not failures. The sovereign spine is verified separately because one process cannot co-load both trust domains. VIGIL Provision mints and signs a crucible authority for a slug, persisting a stable governance key sealed under a per base dir vault. So a later engage against the same base dir reuses that anchor and one owner delegation covers it. VIGIL Identity exports the offense side's stable spine and governance public keys as inert JSON for the owner to sign. Only public keys ever cross, never a private key. It warns you to transport that file over an authenticated channel, since a swapped file would get an attacker's key owner blessed. VIGIL Patch runs an auto-patch ladder over a provenance-grounded confirmed finding, sourced from exactly one of a signed envelope, or a fact rebuilt from the spine after an integrity audit. A raw JSON finding is never accepted. With no leg flags, it is a non-destructive propose-only dry run. Each leg is an explicit opt-in. Apply edits works only in a disposable clone, and OpenPR is off by default, requiring signed authorization, a trust root, mandatory signers including the owner, a durable nonce ledger, and a GitHub token. These two arm the PR leg. Provision destruction mints the M of N quorum, writing the public trust root and printing each signer's private key exactly once, explicitly not stored. Nothing is armed until you also authorize and pass OpenPR. Authorized destruction signs one destructive action from a dry run into a single-use, window-bounded authorization. The owner key is read from the environment, never argv. The window stays within a 900-second deadman switch, and single use is enforced downstream by the nonce ledger. Hoof export assembles a client-verifiable bundle from a run's oracle-confirmed facts. Only the public trust root is written. The governor's private key is only ever an in-process argument. It prints a fingerprint to publish out of band, so a bundle resigned under another key is refused, and the bundle re-verifies offline with zero trust in VIGIL. Dossier compiles everything a run produced, reports, exports, the proof bundle, the scrubbed log, the signed spine chain, into one deterministic path-safe zip with a manifest of SHA-256s, signed M of N or honestly marked unsigned. VIGIL Detect runs the detection mirror over log files, edge, injection, and recon oracles on the access log, credential oracles on the auth log, a port scan oracle on the connection log. It mints an ephemeral key pair, so a fact-grade file produces a re-verifiable certificate. Each file is re-verified by rerunning its named oracle over the embedded evidence before it counts as a fact, and unproven fires degrade to leads. It is framework-free and offense-free. It reads telemetry and reels nothing. Distinct from the Aegis single-envelope firewall verdict. Both reuse the exact conjunctive gate and sealed spine signer the live engine uses. VIGIL terminal runs a governed local read-only command. No shell, argvlist, allow listed binaries only. Classified at Warden A2, which queues under the A1 ceiling and never auto-runs. Without approve, it is prepared and gated but never runs. VIGIL sandbox runs an arbitrary command, full shell allowed because it is isolated, at A3 inside a network-isolated BRAP sandbox. Rights confined to one workspace, missing BRAP a clean refusal with no unsandboxed fallback. Each success appends a signed, redacted record. VIGIL knowledge sync push status is the operator-gated git sync of the knowledge folder. Sync regenerates the manifest, scans for secrets, and refuses the commit if any is found, then commits. Push is a separate outward act. Committing a file makes nothing a fact. The graph counterparts stay on grounded intel. Learn drain is the sovereign to offense keystone. It verifies each owner-signed learn grant under the owner public key, rederives the lead from offense intel, and runs deep learn. Fail closed. Signature check only via the shared core, so the 2env boundary holds. VIGIL telemetry is a read-only, one-way projection of the signed spine into a fact, lead, refusal and tool snapshot, atomically rewritten each tick. The blackboard is lazy imported inside the collector, so no framework code loads at CLI startup. It is fail-soft. No spine yields an honest empty snapshot rather than an error. The operator normally gets it for free from VIGIL app with telemetry, but it runs standalone too. Crucially, it means nothing. It only observes. VIGIL app brings the whole UI app at one origin behind a pure DABI exec-only reverse proxy that imports neither framework nor sigil. The backends run as separate OS processes in their own VNVs. It refuses a public bind upfront, loopback or a private tunnel IP only, never 0.0.0.0, with a positive IPv6 allow list because Python mislabels Terido and 624 as private. The proxy routes sovereign, offense API, and offense console by prefix, bounds bodies at 16 megabytes, streams SSE, and redacts tokens from logs. The sidecars are all opt-in. With feed needs a slug or it is skipped. It is off by default because it is recurring live egress, and everything it mints is an intel lead, never a fact. With telemetry is the read-only projection. With voice needs a mic. With gesture is not a process. Local camera gesture is not functional. Gesture input is the phone companion. The destruction owner key is the one hard exclusion from the offense children. VIGIL down reads the PIDS file and terminates children first, orchestrator last, sig term, then sig kill. 5 hard-coded pass-through verbs. Forward to a subsystem's own console script in its fixed venv. Sigil, the sovereign core holding the owner key. Crucible, the offense arsenal. Aegis, the defensive dual. Strix, the agent body. Gateway, the host egress gate. Stripping Python path so a parent injected path can never inject the other domain's modules. Behind VIGIL Crucible sits the 28 subcommand framework arsenal: scan, engage, intel, memory, improve, plan, drift, aegis, evidence, verify, report, status, and more. Each handler lazy imports its sub-CLI, so the scan and engage gate path stays byte identical. Status prominently prints whether governance is sealed or ungoverned. This is one dependency-free, CSP-clean single-page app that federates 2 same origin backends through a reverse proxy. SOV, the owner key sovereign cockpit, and off, the loopback offense console. The plane control filters the 22 screens. Defense-only and offense-only items appear per plane. Note the command palette button is honestly a stub that only toasts on the roadmap, and the failing key badge is a one-shot fetch, not a poll. Home fail soft fetches the sovereign snapshot and the offense status in parallel. So one plane being down never blanks the page. It renders 4 tiles, active runs, waiting for you, confirmed findings, and today's budget. A quick start card whose 3 choices route to the wizard or to defense. And a merged recent decisions feed. It only reads. It also refreshes the shared top bar counts. The one-gated launch action. On mount, it fetches real, never hard-coded catalogs, capability packs, LLM backends, and sessions. 6 target types, codebase via Strix, URL with a 127.0.0.1 quick scan, a single 2-pack, autonomous suite, cloud posture, and Aegis detect. Scope is signed in to the charter, The console structurally never forwards it, so CIDR is rejected and the wizard can't widen it. The graph-backed session option is opt-in and falls back if Neo4j is absent. Live attaches to a run by its stream hint. The 14-kind reasoning blackboard over SSE, a loopback scan progress log, or a poll for Strix and Aegis. It shows fact, lead, refusal, and call counts, a CSP native SVG graph across 7 OODA lanes, and a filterable timeline. Each event drawer distinguishes a fact, Oracle confirmed over real bytes, from a lead. It polls the snapshot every 4 seconds for pending approvals and the kill switch. The stop button trips that run's kill switch. The Findings tab reads the run report and shows a filterable table with a confirmed, lead, contradicted, or ungrounded chip. The honesty test is strict. A live fact grounding wins. Else, Oracle verified. Else, an active finding with a real Oracle kind. A passive DOM lead is never a fact. The offline re-verify refires the retained Oracle context with zero target traffic. Blackboard and Strix runs get honest empties, not fake tables. Attack graph reads the world model and draws a deterministic force-directed layout of attacker to crown jewel paths and choke points. Each node's drawer shows belief, grounding, and incident edges. The timeline tab replays the same world model using a slider to reconstruct monotonic graph growth by first seen timestamp. Both are pure reconstruction over retained state. No packet is ever sent to the target while you explore. Evidence reads each finding's cryptographic certificate and re-verifies it offline into sound, tempered, claim mismatch, or no certificate. The pair card re-verify refetches the evidence provider and issues no target traffic, which is why the tile reads 0. Coverage reads the coverage provider, fingerprint, endpoints, passive hygiene, and DOM XSS leads, plus an explicit blind spots legend, so you know what was not examined, not just what was. Proof Studio reads the proof list per run. A fact here means a deterministic oracle refired over the executor's captured raw bytes. A denied proof had dangerous POC content refused before minting. Export is disabled unless at least one fact exists. Clicking it shells the exec-only proof export CLI and surfaces the bundle path, an offline verify command, and a trust root fingerprint you pin out of band, because the bundle's own root can't vouch for itself. Report is live, not a saved PDF. It fetches evidence and compliance and re-verifies every finding offline as it loads, then shows an executive summary and proven cards carrying certificate IDs and standards mappings. Download dossier first, posts a CSRF guarded build that shares the dossier CLI, then streams the pre-built traversal guarded zip through an anchor download. The download route only serves, it never builds. Fixes lists only Oracle confirmed fixable findings plus the gated fix ladder and world model choke points. Apply fix is honest and gated. It runs the patch CLI into a disposable clone and sandbox build, never touches your source, and never opens a PR. That stays an M of N command line act. It refuses unless the run is a real codebase run with a signed offense spine, which a console Strix run does not emit, and it says so with an actionable pointer to the engage command. Defense drives the Aegis proxy. It polls status and tails a verdict's SSE. Setup fail closes before any spawn. It validates config, refuses if HTTPX is missing or a gateway is already running, and a routable binds demands a browser confirm and gets flagged public. Enforce mode needs the respond entitlement or it silently downgrades to observe. A confirmed verdict is a proven attack. Crucially, clear is explicitly not proof of safety, and canary and prompt injection detection live in the in-process SDK, not this proxy. 2 paths. The AI doc routes your intent through Claude into a command candidate, a read-only cited answer, or a pointer to the gated engagement path. With no key, it fails to a need key state, and any SDK error or refusal fails closed. The direct path gives a dry run advisory badge, and clicking run is itself the approval, shelling the governed terminal CLI. Only a fixed allow list of local read-only binaries runs, never network tools, writers, or interpreters. The authoritative gate and signed record live inside that CLI. Chat is a natural language front door to the same gated launcher, not a second engine. It persists each transcript, extracts a URL and mode from your message, and launches through the identical assessment action, where scope, charter, and gates are enforced. A message with no resolvable target returns a need target reply that launches nothing. The owner plane model and effort quick controls here mirror settings through the single signed action channel. Sessions reads the session registry and shows per session cards linking each run into live. Create, rename, connect, disconnect, and delete all posts to the session actions. Connect stores a directional, real-time advisory priors scope entry that the Engage CLI consumes. It is never a graph merge. Hard delete removes the registry entry and the rebuildable graph partition, but never the signed spine, which is append-only history. This federates vol intel, feeds, evolve state, and engagements. Every write here is deliberately weak by design. Pull now is one shot, kill switch gated, opt-in egress that means leads only, never effect. Propose to learn and learn from URL. Fetch public pages through the scope, robots, and SSRF gate and keep grounded claims as verbatim spans. Self-evolve produces draft proposals only. It merges and means nothing. And knowledge to Git regenerates, secret scans, and commits locally. A secret hit refuses and it never pushes. Tools probes your live path. Installed, missing, failed, shadowed, or unsupported. And a shadowed same-named binary is flagged not usable. A tool is only admitted if it's globally recognized and cleanly CLI drivable. Install is two-step consent. The first click reveals the exact declared command, and only a strict Boolean true actually runs it. Even the string false takes the ask path. Research surfaces offline docs. Strict sandbox tools are shown as not host installed. Brain is read-only. Introspection across 5 tabs. Memory shows priors and recorded dead ends. Benchmark shows true positive, and false negative counts from committed package data. Catalog lists capabilities. And Intel and Planner show per-run reasoning. The standing legend is the whole product's thesis in one line. Critics, learning, and reflection are advisory only. Nothing here is a fact until a deterministic oracle fires. Compliance maps each oracle confirmed fact to OWASP, CWE, PCI DSS, SOC 2, ISO 27001, and ATT&CK by re-executing that finding's retained oracle context. A mere lead asserts no control coverage. Assurance then diffs the oracle confirmed fact set between 2 runs into regressions, fixed, and stable, purely offline by refiring. A lead is never counted in either place. Only proven facts drive compliance and drift. This owner screen pulls the sovereign snapshot every 5 seconds and tails the governance SSE. Every mutation, approving or denying a queued action, engaging or releasing the kill switch, enabling gesture and voice capabilities, flows through the single owner-signed action channel. It's the human-in-the-loop choke point for the whole system. Note the local camera gesture path isn't functional, so gesture input means the signed phone companion, not a webcam. Charter reads authorization status, the scope split, the window, and the gate chain. Provision is deliberately crippled for safety. It hard fixes scope to 127.0.0.1 and never takes it from the caller, so the UI can never mint or widen a remote charter. A remote target is only verified and guided through an out-of-band provision ceremony. Load ledger replaces the who, when, and what usage attestation ledger and verifies its signed hash chain. 2 owner screens over the sovereign settings. Settings sets the reasoning model, the effort level from low through max, and they bring your own provider. Bedrock, Vertex, Azure, Mistral, self-hosted, Olama, or Claude, each applied through the signed action channel and taking effect on the next bring-up. API keys holds per category and per provider credential cards, with live health and a test all action. Values seal into the OS key ring or TPM, and only a fingerprint is ever recorded. Keys are never shown. Manual is static in-app documentation with no runtime data, so the console is self-explaining offline. Riding above every screen is the persistent sigil HUD channel, started at boot and surviving root changes. Its nav signals can only jump to a known in-app screen ID. A null prototype membership test blocks prototype pollution or arbitrary URL navigation, and its state events render a dismissible corner overlay of sigil listening, thinking, or speaking. This is the one place an LLM proposed tool call turns into real bytes on the wire or gets denied. The rule for any network tool is strict. No subprocess spawns unless the target clears the egress floor, and the full conjunctive gate allows. Both fail closed before a single byte is written. Every path degrades to a deny on bad input and never raises. Execute runs a deny by default pipeline. Stage 0, a bad name, or, critically, no signer wired, is denied before any spawn. An unrecordable call is unprovable. Stage 1 pins the target through the egress guard. Stage 2 authorizes. Stage 3 builds the argv and runs it. Stage 4 writes the signed record. The whole thing is wrapped, so an internal error is always a deny, never a crash. The egress guard resolves the host with get_addr_info, then chooses a mode. By default, scope is none, and only IPv4 loopback is allowed. Even IPv6 local host is refused. A signed authority can opt into a specific remote or LAN host, but the metadata, link local, and reserved floor is never liftable by any scope. It resolves once and pins the exact IP as a DNS rebind defense. A smuggled second host can never survive into the argv. That signed scope comes from provision authority. It builds a single signer trust root, signs an authority document with literal hosts, no CIDR, and vault seals the key. The executor reloads it per call, so a mid-engagement resign is honored. It's strictly fail-closed. Any load or verify failure makes the host list empty, and an empty scope denies every target, including loopback. Losing the authority never widens reach, only closes it. 6 network builders reconstruct the target from the pin components only. In return, none. A deny on any smuggled host or unsafe option. Nmap in HTTPX pin the host and URL. Nuclei allows tags in severity only through a token regex. FFUF demands a real local word list, refusing any URL. SQL map and Hydra are marked destructive. Hydra records the exact index of an inline password, so the record masks it. Every argv is a list, no shell ever. The runner spawns the argv list with shell off. Stand it in from dev null so nothing blocks, capturing both streams under a wall clock timeout and a size cap. A timeout or spawn failure becomes a captured outcome, never a crash. Then a signed append-only exec record stores redacted argv plus a SHA-256 of the raw stand-it out and stand-it in. The provable link to what the Oracle re-examines without ever persisting the plain text. A signer that raises yields an unsigned record, never a fabricated signature. Before the gate, authorized to call coerces the phase, checks the tool is registered for that phase. An out-of-phase tool is denied before the gate is even consulted, then classifies destructiveness, where the operator manifest wins, and a known dangerous name like SQL map or Hydra only raises the floor. Crucially, it gates on the executor-validated hostname, never the LLM's proposed string, and secrets are scrubbed from the args before they touch the spine. The conjunctive gate is the one pure composition both trust domains import. 4 conjuncts in order. Crucible domain authority, whose kill switch has absolute precedence. The warden tool gate. Threshold destruction for destructive calls with a strict authorized is exactly true identity check. And the final verdict. Only an explicit auto opens the gate. Q means owner approval, and any error in any conjunct is a deny, never caught and continued. Build offense GIRP wires those thunks to the real code. A non-trust route is refused at build time. It would load the authority unsigned, the biggest fail open in the map. The operator kill switch is constructed and passed in, so a tripped switch actually halts this gate. The destruction leg is only wired when every piece is present and crossbinds the quorum's target to crucibles. Any failure building the gate leaves it none, which denies every call. Warden's decide tool classifies each tool A0 to A3 and takes the marks of the classification and the flaw. The default posture, A2 flaw, A1 ceiling, means every offense tool queues. Offense never auto-runs on its own. That's a posture default, not an invariant. An operator can lower the floor on a twin or staging target, so recon auto-runs while destructive and exec stay queued. The optional kernel classifier is not wired live, and the strict hook is opt-in via environment variable. 3 tables drive that. The tool to phase manifest says Nmap, HTTPX. Nuclei belong to recon and exploitation. SQL map and Hydra only later. Anything unlisted for a phase is denied. The destructive view names SQL map, Hydra, and Metasploit for the M of N leg. And default classify derives danger from one shared. Byte faithful kernel port. A clean recon name is A1. A name carrying an A3 danger token is A3. Sandbox.exe is A3. Terminal.run is A2, and queues under the ceiling. The high assurance alternative to a standing yes is the per action token. It binds the exact tool, target, and an action digest over the canonical args. So a token for SQL map dump cannot authorize OS shell. Verify token runs 7 fail-closed checks. Schema, action binding, a validity window, a dead man's switch capping lifetime, an owner key pin, single use, and the ED25519 signature. The nonce is burned atomically only after everything passes, and a token can never widen a crucible deny. The highest consequence gate, an autonomous, prompt-injectable worker must not perform an irreversible action alone. Authorized destruction binds the action, checks the window and deadman switch, enforces single use, then requires an M of N threshold of valid signers, plus a mandatory owner who must be among them. Low-order keys and duplicate signer IDs are barred at the crypto core. Honest caveat. A threshold of 1 solo owner is single use and action bound, but that is not separation of duties. Real protection needs co-signer keys on different machines. Here's a real denial. The local terminal is a distinct path that skips network pinning because the egress floor is preserved by construction. The allow list admits only local, non-network, non-interpreter read and inspect binaries. Curl, wget, inc, bash, python, t, all absent, so all denied. A red pin proved a spelling deny list can't be complete, so capable tools like find, sort, and unique are admitted only through read-only predicate and flag allow lists. Cat, by contrast, runs. For an arbitrary command, the sandbox tier makes it safe by kernel isolation instead of an allow list. BRAP unshares everything. The network namespace means no egress, covering IP and abstract Unix sockets. And the only writable paths are the bound workspace and an ephemeral temp. It deliberately does not bind the host root, so no daemon socket like docker.ship ever exists in the box. A missing BRAP is a deny, never an unsandboxed run. Fail closed with no fallback. The engine loop ties it together. It attests first. No attestation seam. The whole run is refused. Each iteration folds in advisory operator instructions, proposes a decision, and routes it through the gate, where a queue waits for assigned approval, and a deny becomes a pivot, never a giving up. The executor rechecks the gate as defense in depth. Terminal output is advisory only, and never enters Oracle intake, so an autonomous command can never mint a fact. One honest detail about the current seam. When the LLM offers an Oracle context, it's tagged provenance LLM. The deterministic Oracle runs, and the lead is labeled with what fired. But an LLM provenance context is never signed into a fact. That closes the anti-hallucination route. Minting a real fact requires redriving the Oracle over the executor-captured raw output. That reproduced path is the documented follow-up, not yet wired. So until it lands this seam correctly, yields leads. All of that surfaces here in the live view. The header tiles count tool actions. Oracle confirmed facts, unconfirmed leads, and refusals. Every gate that fired shows up as a refusal event on the reasoning spine timeline, streamed over a durable cursor that dedups reconnects. Facts versus leads stay visually distinct, so nothing unproven reads as confirmed. And the stop run button trips this engagement kill switch. The offense side hard stop we wired into the gate. A last real denial at the run level. Engage defaults its signed scope to loopback, so a non-loopback target never clears the egress floor. The run comes back refused, fail closed, exit code 2. And even with the key absent entirely, Engage still attests first and then completes proposing nothing. It never fabricates activity to look busy. Refusing cleanly and refusing to invent are the same discipline the whole gate is built on. Everything in VIGIL rests on one rule. The language model only proposes. A claim becomes a fact only when a pure, deterministic oracle refires over bytes a real target produced. Every oracle in verify/oracles.py is side effect free. It reads already collected evidence and returns a signal. It never sends. Same inputs, same verdict, every time. An absent or negative signal is never an assumed pass. The whole layer is fail closed. The unknown class fallback is 15 oracles. Differential response weighs status, length, structure, and latency. Its AST signature invariant to nonce noise. Timing runs a real man-Whitney U with a dose response check, not a fixed threshold. Boolean inference runs a world SPRT with a dynamic page control. Reflection Quantic and DOM eximul prove XSS only when a marker reaches an executable position or a CDP binding actually ran. Error achieved state, evaluation, UOB code, sanitizer signability, TLS richness, version range, and policy path each carry an explicit negative control, so a benign page cannot masquerade as a bug. 17 more oracles are additive and gated, never in the fallback. The forgery oracles prove a JWT is offline forgeable, or a SAML assertion is structurally unsigned. The breakout oracles judge the request alone, proving a structured attempt, never exploitation. The posture oracles, Kates, Cloud, Mesh, CI/CD, Mobile, Email Auth, Identity, are parse proofs over one retained config. VIGIL never attacks the cloud. It rederives a fact from a provided export. Each fires only when the context carries a class-specific key no benchmark or engage finding carries, so appending them leaves the frozen gate byte identical. The verifier maps roughly 80 canonical bug classes to their acceptable oracles, runs each one whose inputs are present, and confirms only if at least one fired at confidence 0.7 or above. The policy is safety monotone. A non-firing oracle cannot veto a fired one. It is recorded as dissent, never a refutation. And it is not self-certifying. Pointed at a real loopback SQLI handler, it confirms. Pointed at the parameterized safe twin, it returns none, proving the authority does not rubber stamp. Anti-hallucination is enforced at the type boundary. Known bug class membership is a pedantic field type, so an invented class cannot even be asserted as Oracle provable. It is rejected at parse time. An Oracle confirms class is the relabeling defense. An Oracle that confirms SQL injection cannot stamp a claim relabeled as remote code execution. The proof is bound to the class it actually adjudicated. The confidence engine expresses how confident a confirmation leaves us. It never overrides the Oracle. It scores a scientific hypothesis against mutually exclusive benign alternatives and enters the Oracle confirmation as evidence with a 60 times likelihood ratio, 1.5 times that with a replayable certificate, against the specific benign twin each class masquerades as. It is explicitly non-invasive. The Oracle stays the sole confirmation authority. This only calibrates the number attached to it. Every confirmed finding retains the exact evidence the oracle judged. This command reconstructs that context, reruns the pure oracle with no target and no trust in Vigil, and confirms each verdict reproduces and matches the claimed confidence within a millionth. 3 of 3 reproduce, matched their claims, exit 0. The report has become a set of independently re-executable proofs. Anyone can run this, no network required, and get the same answer. Now we tamper. Alter 1 byte of the retained evidence and rerun. The row flips to bad with a claim mismatch. 2 of 3 reproduce, exit 2. Re-verification can only ever demote. It turns a fabricated confirmed into a mismatch. It can never promote a claim the oracle refused. The binding is load-bearing. The evidence adjudicates its own bug class, so relabeling SQLI evidence as RCE is refused at the re-execution boundary, not silently reconfirmed. The Evidence tab is that same offline re-verification in the browser. Each certificate card shows a state. A green sound means the pure oracle refired over the retained evidence and matched the certificate. A red tampered means it no longer reconfirms. An amber claim mismatch means it fires, but with a different kind or confidence than claimed. Click Offline Re-Verify and it reruns. And notice the traffic centile stays at 0. This is a pure rerun, never a re-attack. The Veracity Firewall's admit function re-executes every cited ground, rather than trusting a string, labeling a claim contradicted, ungrounded, or grounded. A fabricated target, absent from the world model, is ungrounded. A dry run claim can stand only on re-executable oracle or certificate grounds, never its own reasoning. It only ever demotes or abstains. It can never promote a claim the oracle refused. Being honest, today this is the callerless primitive, exercised by its tests. The runtime admission gate is a later phase, not yet the universal choke every claim crosses. This is how a proposal becomes a signed fact. First, the deterministic oracle refires, or the pipeline returns nothing. Then, the class must be oracle mapped, or it is labeled a lead. Then, the provenance gate. The evidence must carry reproduced or live redrive provenance. The model's own default extract is demoted to a lead, even when the oracle fires, because a crafted but firing context is an LLM-influenced route to a fact. Only then does it mint and M of N sign the certificate. It refuses to mint with 0 signers. Note the live redrive of a scope-gated target is explicitly deferred to a later slice. Challenge oracles generalize DARPA's proof of vulnerability to every web class. Each confirmation issues a fresh, unpredictable 128-bit challenge. The finding is verified only if the live target satisfies that exact token. A recorded response, or one an LLM invents for an old token, always abstains. And the epistemics are kernel minted. Only the oracle can mint a verified verdict, HMAC bound to the challenge under a per-run key, so no agent or critic can forge it. The value is verified or abstain, never a bare boolean an agent could assert. An evidence certificate binds the oracle context digest, a per-file artifact manifest, and the oracle's ID adversion, a hash of the oracle's own source, so any change to its body is detectable. Verification requires 5 independent layers, all of them. Threshold ED25519 authenticity. Digest binding, so a signature can't be lifted onto other evidence. Artifact rehashing that fails closed. Oracle reproduction, and claims grounded readmission. Proof carrying findings then projects this into an open wire format, with a faithful projection check, so no field can be mutated into a lying wrapper. Proof Studio turns confirmed facts into a self-contained bundle a client verifies offline with 0 trust in Vigil. Signed certificates, the chain, public keys only, and the raw bytes. Symlinks never followed or shipped. A fix for a prior copy dereference exfil bug. Only Oracle confirmed facts are bundled. The authenticity anchor is the out-of-band trust root fingerprint the client pins. Without it, a clean exit proves internal consistency and reproduction, but not authenticity. The panel hands you that fingerprint and the one command offline verify. The dossier compiles everything a run produced. The human reports, JSON and Sarif. The offline proof bundle, the scrubbed engagement log, the signed spine chain, into one deterministic zip. Its manifest lists every entry's SHA-256, and a manifest signature over those bytes with an out-of-band fingerprint makes it tamper evident. Flip any byte and the manifest check fails. Re-sign under another key and the fingerprint changes. Manifest signing is conditional on a resolvable governance signer. Absent one, it ships hashes only with an honest note. The same facts also express as SCIT OpenVex statements in DSSE envelopes, registered in an append-only RFC 6962 Merkle log, whose receipt verifies only against a caller-pinned root. Finally, the spine, Every event is hash-linked, excluding war clock, and verification fails closed on an incomplete read rather than anchor a truncated log. VIGIL Verify rechecks each segment, binding the head to its engagement, and the M of N signature with an anti-rollback high water, catching an edited payload, a reordered event, or an unanchored append. Witnesses countersign checkpoints only after verifying append-only consistency. Be precise here. Split view resistance is conditional. It needs a strict majority of distinct keys. Below that, only per witness non-equivocation and after-the-fact detection remain. Bitcoin anchoring is deferred. The knowledge engine is the half of VIGIL that learns. It roams recon sources, resolves an asset graph, remembers past outcomes, and drafts new capability. Beside it sits the sovereign plane, the owner key trust backbone. One rule binds both. Everything the learning half emits is a lead, never a fact. Only a deterministic oracle firing over real target bytes mints a fact. The model proposes, the oracle confirms, the signature attests. Every collector emits one thing: an observation carrying provenance, an admiralty A to F reliability, a polarity, and a monotonic sec, never wall clock. Each addresses an entity ref, whose canonicalization keeps attackable assets separate from owners that merely link to them. The single SIM to the network is transport. Disabled transport is the default and raises. Fixture transport serves offline captures, and guarded HTTP transport is the gated life path, allow listed, refusing any host that overlaps target scope. Ingest runs the 4 passive collectors: DNS, Certificate Transparency, RDAP, ASN BGP, through Intel Ingest, the one writer. Durable log, project onto the world model, resolve entities. Projection writes each edge as a beta belief, so corroboration is free and order independent. Entity resolution is a weighted union find over Falegi Sunter co-reference bits with a fan-out discount, so a wildcard cert on 500 hosts cannot merge unrelated assets. Every merge cites its exact signal. Plan ranks each collector and subject task by expected information gain per unit cost. A near certain belief scores low, even when cheap, using priors from cross-engagement source yield learning. Predict emits gated asset hypotheses scored through the scientific confidence engine. A prediction is never a graph fact and never auto-verified. Timeline and Delta only call an asset disappeared when an enumerative source reswept and omitted it. A point source's silence is stale, not gone. Recon assets reach the test loop through one edge. Promote turns each in-scope host or web service into a URL-bearing endpoint node the probe leaves read. 3 invariants. In scope by the signed charter. A lead at confidence 0.5, not a fact, and off the byte-identical gate path. Discovery Frontier collapses candidates to one canonical, testable location. Expand crawls a promoted route, staying same host and inside the subtree. Every probe is still reauthorized, fail closed at the invoker. The feed pulls advisories from 3 fixed trusted sources: NVD, OSV, CISA Kev, each a concrete Apex host, never the target. Every entry is an Intel tier lead. Only a fired oracle confirms. Pull now is a conscious one-shot, kill-switch gated egress through the guarded transport. Recurring autopull is a separate opt-in sidecar, the feed daemon, driven by a pure tick predicate with no wall clock that honors a stop within one poll. Loop is feed, propose, accept, deep learn. AutoLearn ranks the leads into proposals. None exploited first, but a proposal authorizes nothing. That green latch is the owner-signed AutoLearn switch, read from the sovereign snapshot, not the offense side. Queue for approval sends a proposal to the owner. Accept is an owner-signed sovereign action that authorizes learning, never a fact. Deep Learn then drafts find, detect, prevent advisory skills plus a gated detect oracle proposal. Authorize is not apply. Self-Evolve runs a bounded, deterministic horizon over disclosed leads plus coverage gaps into draft proposals. It never merges or applies. Studied everything in scope means drafted everything, not that the system is complete. Each tick records one calibration prediction whose outcome a real engagement feels later, never fabricated here. Learn from a URL, fetches public docs through the scope, robots and SSRF gates. Grounded claims are verbatim source spans, all else advisory. Git sync secret scans the folder and refuses a leaking commit. These priors are a per archetype, per bug class success rate learned Laplace smoothed from real engagement outcomes at postmortem. Never invented, each showing successes over attempts with a Wilson lower bound. When a local prior is sparse, it blends similar archetypes weighted by embedding similarity, honestly labeled transferred. Opt-in fleet pooling sums counts across deployments. The Intel and Planetabs show this engagement's world model and VOI plan. Catalog lists advisory detection operators that mint nothing. Every chat and assessment is a permanent session you can rename, reopen, connect, and remove. Each session owns a graph partition, a pure one-way projection of the append-only signed spine into nodes and edges, written atomically. Nothing projected is ever read back into a tier or a fact, so it cannot become a covert channel around the oracle. The build store is embedded JSON. A Neo4j backend is an infragated scaffold. Connecting a session unions its partition as advisory, origin-tagged priors, never facts, granting no authority. The owner key sovereign process and the keyless offense process must never co-load. The fatal 2 rule. The mechanism is assert no offense, run at import time atop every sigil subsystem. It scans loaded modules for anything under framework or Strix and raises immediately. The offense side is the mirror. The keyless offense worker refuses an owner key outright at construction. Its autonomy ceiling is A2, and any governance event it forges carries no signature, which verification fails closed on. VIGIL Verify rederives each offense spine segment from public keys and inert bytes, establishing the owner tie through an owner-signed delegation. Underneath is one ED25519 primitive. Both environments import. Verify only at runtime, rejecting non-canonical and low-order public keys before any check, closing a keyless forgery trust root poison. The chain hashes each entry over seek, prevhash, and cert digest. The signed head anchors an absolute count and a rollback floor. 6 domain tags keep one artifact class's signature from replaying as another. M of n counts distinct authorizers. A confirmed finding crosses from offense to owner as inert bytes. The keyless worker emits a signed evidence envelope. The crossing point passes it with JSON/loads only, never pickle or eval, bounded to 256 kilobytes with a strict field allow list. The boundary is a directory, not a socket. A 0600 spool, the watcher drains with O plus NO follow, verifying an owner-signed delegation per kind. Ingest is 2 anchor. Offense proves what, owner attests when. With role and scope binding, all fail closed. Every offensive step clears one fail-close conjunction, both engines import. The domain authority must be in envelope. Warden must return an explicit auto, and any destructive action needs an M of n quorum returning strictly true. Warden is the one token-based classifier, a byte-faithful port of the Rust kernel pinned to golden vectors. Unknown or dangerous names go A3. Here, the owner approves queued items and drives the kill switch. Halting is always immediate. Releasing needs the owner's signature. Authority flows from one owner root by signed delegation. A delegation cert binds an offense trust root by role, scope, and expiry. Verified fail closed on every axis, including duplicate pub key quorum collapse. Destruction is the highest gate. An M of n quorum with a mandatory owner baked into immutable config, action bound, dead man switch bounded, and single use. Because the injectable worker is itself an authorizer who could otherwise rename the owner. A 1 of n owner-signed device ledger authorizes and revokes phones. A revoked or forged key folds out and cannot self-authorize. 2 out-of-band witnesses guard the signed spine. The transparency layer has witnesses countersign a checkpoint only after proving append-only extension, counts, and last seek only grow, the chain link intact. Split view prevention is conditional. It holds only for a strict majority of distinct witness keys. Below that, only per witness, non-equivocation, and after-the-fact detection remain. The durable flaw lives outside the spine directory, so a reset cannot lower it, catching a stale but validly signed head replay. It only adds rejections, so a satisfied flaw is byte identical to before. Secret seal with CHA20 poly 1305, domain and context bound into the AAD, so an owner key blob cannot open as an operator key. The 32-byte key encryption key is TPM sealed to the machine with no plaintext fallback. A locked TPM fails closed. The vault is plaintext passed through until provisioned once, then migrates non-destructively. Spine payloads seal per field, so the keyless kill switch and budget folds still read metadata, and a keyless verifier still checks the whole chain. Only reading content needs the key. All opt-in. The offense sandbox's only exit is fenced 3 ways. The denialist is a DNS-less conscience. Cloud metadata, loopback, and link local are a never-liftable hard floor. Private ranges open only for an exact charter-authorized IP, and embedded IPv4 forms are unwrapped so a mapped metadata address cannot slip past. NF tables drops everything but the proxy and DNS at layers 3 and 4, even on the gateway's own output. The layer 7 proxy resolves once, refuses if any address is denied, and pins the connection, defeating DNS rebinding. Docker seals it on an internal-only network. First, the boundary that never moves. VIGIL does not attack anyone's cloud. Cloud, Kubernetes, and infra work is pure posture analysis of a configuration you export and hand it. No packets reach the account. The sensor reads a JSON file offline. Everything you'll see is rederived over that retained export, so the account never sees traffic and never can.
There is no dedicated cloud screen. Posture is one target type in the launch wizard. You pick Cloud Account, name a provider and an account label, not a URL or CIDR, and a slug. The hint is explicit. This is seedless, no traffic to the account, and it needs a signed charter under that slug. The console cannot mint that charter, so Posture can't be launched without authorization on disk. Behind the launch is the cloud imported sensor. It reads your export file and normalizes it. It auto-detects native, Scout Suite, or Prowler shapes and maps them to one inventory of principals, resources, and IAM grants. Our local stack demo carries a bucket flagged public and a role holding an admin grant. Nothing is judged yet. The sensor only projects what your export literally says into the one world model as provenance-tagged observations. The split is the whole discipline. The IAM topology, who can assume what, who holds which grant, is the cloud's own report, so it enters as a trusted observation. But a verdict like, this is overprivileged, or public, is a CSPM tool's heuristic say-so, a third party's opinion. VIGIL tags those as leads at moderate reliability, never facts. A judgment must earn promotion. It is not believed on arrival. Here, a lead becomes a fact. The Verify Umber path oracle rebuilds the grant graph from your retained export and does a breadth-first search for a real privilege path. It fires 0.9, only when a principal in the closure actually holds a dominating grant to the resource. The reconstructed hub chain is the evidence. Our demo confirms two, the anonymous grant reaching the public bucket and the overprivileged roles admin path to a sensitive data store. A second oracle, Cloud Posture, does an achieved state parse proof over a single control, an explicit public translate, a wildcard principal, or encryption at rest explicitly disabled. What matters is what stays a lead. The unencrypted data store misconfiguration is deliberately not promoted because no reachability oracle can prove impact from it. VIGIL confirms exactly the two leads a path oracle can rederive and leaves the rest honestly labeled. It never overclaims. The confirmed findings land in the Findings Hub. Open the overprivileged role finding, and the Attack Graph tab draws the exact hop chain the oracle walked. Principal, grant edge, resource. So the proof is legible, not asserted. The Evidence tab carries the signed certificate binding that finding to the bytes of your export. The signature attests. The graph shows the reasoning. The oracle is what made it a fact. Cloud is one of a family. K8s Posture fires only on a Q-bench control that hard failed carrying a genuinely dangerous flag. A warning or a fail showing the secure value does not fire. Siblings cover Istio Mesh MTLS, CICD PWN requests, an embedded mobile private key that actually loads, email SPF DMARC, and identity MFA gaps. All offline, all rederivable, and gated so they only run when a control's context is actually present, never on an ordinary scan. Now the frontier. 4 framework seams, a pluggable agent body, remote attestation, a binary auto patch tier, and a graph store, plus 2 collectors deferred by an earlier program. Each is either genuinely built for a narrow path or an honestly labeled stub behind a stable interface. One invariant binds all of them. Not one mints a fact, promotes a lead, or grants a tier. The oracle stays the sole authority. The gate stays the sole authorizer. The agent body interface is a scaffold, research-gated, wiring no engine. The one real thing is the run cycle template method. It composes think, propose, gate, execute, learn, and structurally makes execute unreachable unless the gate returned authorized. No proposal means no action. A denied gate records the denial and returns, never executing. A body can't bypass the gate without overriding the whole visible method. Fail closed. An absent decision defaults to deny. The attestation seam is built for software today. Software attestation provider signs a payload SHA-256 with ED 25519 and marks hardware-backed false. Honestly, it proves integrity and origin, not hardware confidentiality. A software key still needs pinning out of band. The SEV SNP and TDX providers are hardware-gated stubs that raise on construction. The auto-detect selector probes for a TEE device and never raises. The day real silicon appears and a backend stops raising, it activates on detection. The binary tier is the native parallel to Web Autopatch, and it's precise about what's built. Sanitizer silence tier drives the existing sanitizer oracle. A fix is real only if the oracle fired before and went silent after. You cannot earn silence you never broke. It proves a fix, it does not generate one. Patch synthesis and the whole symbolic repair tier raise annotations, research-gated. It observes the fired then silent transition and mints nothing. The embedded graph store is built and needs no external database. It's a pure one-way projection of the append-only event spine into nodes and edges. Same events in, byte-identical partition out. Payload stored as SHA-256 digests, written atomically per session. The load-bearing invariant. Nothing produced here is ever read back into a tier, grant, or fact. That would be a covert channel around the oracle. The Neo4j backend is an infragated stub that raises. The live key thinkstep binds the reasoning loop to a real Claude messages call, opt-in and key-gated. It frames every attacker-influenceable input as untrusted, masks secrets before they enter the prompt, asks for one structured decision, and passes fail-closed. Garbage downgrades to an inert ask user, never an action. With no key, it falls back to a scripted deterministic replay. Whatever the model returns is a proposal only. It must still clear the gate, and the oracle still judges the bytes. The telemetry sidecar is a build collector, opt-in, run by VIGIL telemetry or VIGIL op with telemetry. It's another pure one-way projection of the signed spine into a metric snapshot. Events, refusals, tool calls, a per-kind histogram. The number that matters. A finding counts as a fact only when its payload is stamped verified by Oracle. Otherwise, it's a lead. So even the dashboard's fact count is Oracle grounded. It's fail-soft. A closed spine writes an honest empty snapshot, never a crash. The close, honestly. On an external, vendor-published, authorized target, a governed run confirmed 2 findings over captured bytes, re-verified them offline, 2 for 2, and the real test rejected a single tempered byte with a claim mismatch. That is the anti-hallucination property, live. And on the right, what is not yet live. Hardware attestation, symbolic crash repair, the Neo4j store, the agent body, all gated or scaffolded and labeled so. The Oracle proposes nothing. It only ever confirms. That is the machine you can trust. So far, you have driven VIGIL by hand and watched the engine reason, but the sovereign plane has a voice of its own. Sigil. It holds the owner key. It touches no target, and it can speak, navigate every screen, and read the screen in front of you. Let me hand over.
Good evening. I am Sigil, the sovereign side of VIGIL. I hold the owner's signing key, and by design, I touch no target. I answer from a signed, append-only memory of everything the system has done, and I speak with the newest, most human model in the voice you chose. Watch. Open the finding screen. A spoken command becomes a signed navigation record on the owner's spine, and the cockpit simply follows it. Here we are, 2 findings, both confirmed by a deterministic oracle. Now let me read what is in front of me. My ground truth is the accessibility tree, the real text of the screen, not a guess. I see a Boolean SQL injection, proven by the differential response oracle, and reflected cross-site scripting, proven by reflection context. 11 honest leads beside them. A vision model could add a reading, but only as advice, never as fact.
Sigil speaks with the latest human-like model, navigates by the very same system map the interface uses, and reads the screen with the accessibility tree as ground truth. The one thing this headless machine cannot give it is a microphone. For live listening, plug one in. Everything else you just saw.